Dirty Flight sponsors 10-Year Tip with Garry Dibley.
Well, good evening. It's a Monday night and it is 9 o'clock and it is time to 10-Year Tip with myself, Garry Dibley, and the ever-capable mod master that is Mark. October already. It's ridiculous. I know it was October last week, but I still can't believe it. Be Christmas soon. And the basis of my mod tonight was a stocking filler from Sainsbury's. I didn't mention it earlier. At points during my video, I may appear to be ever so slightly high, and it is true. I didn't realise how high I was until I stepped out of the workshop. Spent all day Saturday treating the outside of the shed with a really nice oil-based treatment in prep for the winter. Didn't realise just how much the fumes would accumulate on the inside of the shed until I sat here trying to record the video. And yes, a couple of wires around the wrong way and stuff like that. It was most interesting. I felt like I'd drunk about 50 beers on Saturday night and had to hang over the match Sunday morning with none of the fun. It was, yeah, not good fun, not good fun. Mark this week takes a look at something we've actually not looked at, which is a step-up board. So he has a play with one of those. So we'll crack on with those in a bit. We've got quite a big week lined up for you this week. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later on, but it will, I believe, start at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, and there will be a link in a feed, I believe, that will be sort of posted up to get that. Of course, I could have that completely and utterly wrong, and when I play my first video in, I'll receive my rollicking and come back to you after it with the correct news. Let's crack on. Come back in two. Right, we're back for another week, and you can probably guess straight away what I'm going to be doing. I'm just going to make a little quick, simple VV mod today of the novelty variety. Obviously using my usual bits and pieces. Purpose of this really is I've got a new tin, and half of the sort of thought process today is to go through sizing up how we make things fit in a tin, because obviously a display is a certain size, your board, your VV board is a certain size, getting the relevant battery holders and switch selection, that sort of stuff. You can probably see I have a nice little chunk of wood here. It's not that thick. I found this in a charity shop. It was 90 odd pence. Cracking. Now that is going to make a nice top for a mod at some point when my bits arrive. This is going to be the basis of the DNA 20, or the lid to the DNA 20. If I'd have had more of these, I would have chopped all this together and made a nice box out of it, but they only had the one. Bugger. My tin for today is this. Yes, it is a pink shoe. My wife brought it home. She said, "You told me to keep a lookout for tins. What do you think of that?" I said, "Did they not have any other colour?" And she said, "Yes, black, but I got the pink one." Thank you very much. But it's a cracking little tin, and it's even got soul on it, everything. This is what we're looking at. Sort of trying to suss out roughly where we can get our bits and pieces in there. Now obviously looking at this, 2018 650 is going to be a no-no. I was looking at placement, and realistically I would like to try and get a switch in here, and I'm going to use one of the little horn switches down in the sole there, or there where you put your foot, at a little angle, following this contour here, hopefully is the plan. On the internals, again, this is where we're sort of looking, because if I put that down there, my switch is going to poke through around about here somewhere. So I've got to look at how I'm going to get stuff in. Now, the VV boards are big old boys, as you can see. I've got to try and get a display in. And we've got to get our battery and atomizer connections and all that sort of stuff. What I've actually started looking at is the battery holders. I've got to take the little tabs off of these, cut these down, otherwise they'll be shorting. but they sort of fit nicely across the mod that way on Twin 18 350. Faced a challenge with then as to where to put the board, because obviously it would be quite tight, but I've taken a board and just really sort of worked it with a file, and what that should give me the ability to do is to stick that up in the toe end on a slight angle up in the air, sort of thingy like that, with the batteries coming in behind it there. My switch will then pop through here, and I should be able to get the display. No, because my AT connection's going there. Somewhere around about in there. I'll get the display in somewhere. But that's sort of what we're looking at. Getting that up on an angle, secured in. The two battery holders. Could all go wonky, I don't know. I've never played with this tin before. It's going to be tight, but it is going to be a fun mod. I'm going to sort of pop away, have a little rough size up, sort out these pins, because I don't know if you can see they are very, very sticky. So that's simply done by pulling out the one of the legs here, pulling that out, snipping it back and inserting it back in, pretty much level down there somewhere, and it should be good. Pop away, do that, I'll come back in 2.
Now this week I'm going to be doing something a little bit different, as I'm not going to be making a mod. I'm going to give you hopefully a little bit more insight into how I get to where I get to in making a mod, and I'm going to concentrate on component, in particular VV board. Hopefully by now most of you should be familiar with this. It's the LM2596 step down board that we use. Variations of this are used in most of the tin mods and things like that out there, and it uses 2 batteries in series and steps the power down to whatever you want. And this has one major disadvantage in that you can't easily put onboard charging because the batteries are in series. Now, with some clever switching there is a way you can do it, so you can switch the batteries into parallel for charging. It's a bit awkward, a bit of a faff, and I'd rather not be doing it. Or you could use a balanced board, a charging board which balances the charge over 2 batteries. But again, that's something I really don't want to be doing, as it offers a lot of problems for battery safety basically. I'd much rather take the batteries out and charge them separately in that case. So, but what I'm going to try and do is use one of these, which looks very much the same, but it isn't. This is the LM2577, which is a step up board, and according to the specs this will take a single battery and give you a voltage between 3.5 volts and 35 volts. But I guess we shall see, because I've got no idea how this is going to work for what we want it to do, that is as an e-cig. I'm sure it'll give what it says it's going to give in a basic circuit, but whether it'll do it under a load that we require, someone will have to find out. So that's basically going to be the testing I'm going to be doing this week. So if I zoom this out, you can see the boards are, the new one's slightly wider and also slightly shorter, but basically it's the same size and pretty much the same components for a lot of it. So first job, I'm going to attach the battery, and in this case I'll just be attaching the battery directly without a switch to make it easier for testing purposes. Before I do that, as always with these, I want to knock off these tabs so I can get the battery in and out easily. Especially in this case, as I'm testing, I might need to remove the battery rather quickly in case of an emergency. So these being in the way would not be good. I'll just run the knife down these and pop them off. Just making sure that the wires are out of the way before you do it, and your fingers are out of the way. So that's that modded basically. Now I just need to solder these two wires directly onto the board. And as I'm just doing this as a testing, I'm not going to worry too much if how secure the wires are onto this board. So rather than go through the holes, I'm just going to lay them flat. Pop solder across them. So that's the power in. Now on the output side, I want to add a display so I can see what's going on easily. And this, which is basically an atomizer connector, which I've wired up the positive through a switch, badly by the look of it as the solder's come away, and the negative direct. So the board will be putting out power to the display constantly, and it'll only act on the atomizer when I press the button. That way I can see what's going on. So my first job is going to be resoldering this connection by the look of it. Because I've only just tacked these into place. That really doesn't want to go onto there, does it? Oh, the joys. So I'll pop back in a second when I've cleaned this up and resoldered it. Now then, for whatever reason, the solder just did not want to stick onto this switch at all. I'll look at that later on, I think. But instead I've just added a different switch, because I'm feeling far too lazy today. So what I want is to add two negatives together. Onto the negative side of the output. And if you're watching very closely, in fact I'll zoom in, you will notice I've managed to solder the wires onto the output for the battery rather than the input. First mistake of the day, back when I fixed them up.
And we're back in the room once again. Yes, the pink shoe works quite well. We'll get to that in a minute, obviously. I was having a little chat to my sister earlier today, and she phoned me. Really, she was quite excited. She was wandering around, and they went shopping, and she stumbled across a e-cig store in Tenerife, which is where she lives. Had a chat with the lady there behind the counter, and apparently they get most of their stuff from the UK, which I found interesting, and some of their liquids from Italy as well. Now apparently they've got over 10 vaping stores throughout Tenerife, and are looking to expand out to the other Canary Islands. I'm going to find out some more, because she was quite shocked. She come over and she obviously see that making the drip tips in the shed, this, that and the other. And I think all they've had out there is sort of like the ego type stuff, you know, and disposables that they were selling in clubs. This is quite a big thing over there. It's not a huge island, and there are 10 shops opened up by one supplier. So I'm going to try and find about. See the fumes, they're working again. I'm going to try and find out some more information and see where we go with that. talking of mods, I've got quite a few. Got some information coming up on this very shortly. I'm going to run this and then I'll slip into the ads and see you back.
So why can't I say something to change this situation? With no great words of wisdom springing to my mind. What have I done to deserve this aggravation? No, I never said I'm perfect. If I did, it was a lie. Meet me halfway. Do I have to get a stick so you can beat me once again? Meet me halfway. 'Cause you're not fair. 'Cause I've tried so hard to get to know you, but you're not giving anything away. I've tried every trick in the book to try to break you down, but I stand defeated. I hold my hands up now, you beat me hands down, yeah. So why do you use me to vent all your frustrations? Yeah, why does everything that I say have to be a lie? And why are you so deeply into confrontations? 'Cause I'm not going nowhere, and you'll miss me when I die. Meet me halfway. Do I have to get a stick so you can beat me once again? Meet me halfway. 'Cause you're not fair. 'Cause I've tried so hard to get to know you, but you're not giving anything away. I've tried every trick in the book to try to break you down, but I stand defeated. I hold my hands up now, you beat me hands down. Lord, Lord.
Liberty Flight sponsors 10-Year Tip with Garry Dibley. iViber and iViber Elixir, based in Yorkshire, for your e-cig needs. That's iViber.co.uk and iViber-elixir.co.uk. iViber and iViber-elixir.co.uk, proud sponsors of ViberTrails.tv. sponsors Tin Your Tip with Garry Dibley.
And we're back in the room once again. And you can see the prizes are coming in thick and fast for that raffle. I've had a mail from the guys over at e-cig Wizard as well, who are putting up 10 kits and 50 bottles of various e-liquids from the Whizmix stuff. So cheers to those guys. Well, it's still coming in, and you can probably tell by my speech that the fumes really are starting to take effect. Still a bit sort of pongy in here tonight with the oil, and I think I've just blown a bulb. Happy days. Let's crack on with the next little video we'll pop back into. You can sort of see in this stage that obviously while filming this the fumes were much stronger, and I do get two of my wires crossed on the board, but I do sort it out a little bit later on. See you back in two. Right, so while I've been away I've drilled for my switch, and I've got my ATI connection in the heel. I've set the switch ever so slightly off centre, and that is to give me a bit more room to get the display in. If it was centralised, it'd be as tight as boogery. The other thing I've had to do is the way to centralise this ATI connection. When that's actually through, I've had to take a little nogging off the inside of the sole, so the case can actually go back down. So a switch gives us a better idea of our layout as such, and we should be able to get our board up in there at an angle, and our two battery holders are now free of batteries in there, and when that's up at an angle, that's going to give us enough room to sort of play with. Probably even elevate it slightly, get it direct in there like that. Boom, it gives us more than enough room to play with. Now look at that. So I'm going to quickly solder up my board, and what I like to do when I'm working with these is have if you like, a fair amount of wire to play with, so I keep them as long as I can. And let me just tin these up, and you see I've got quite a tight little space down here on these two pins. Now, because the board is going to sit up in the toe of the shoe, what I want to try and do is shape my wires to almost come through the board. So this one here, I'm going to take sort of round this component this side, round this component this side. So I'm just going to try and position that up in there. As I said last week, I've got these two tinned up, so it should just be a case of tapping with the iron, and that's in place to come through the board. Might as well do my other neg while I'm here, be rude not to. That one can come straight down forwards like so. And this one here is going to be probably a little bit more tricky, because I want to position this through, straight through. I'm going to have to jib that component ever so slightly to get that through. I am going to have to jib it ever so slightly. Come on, you bugger. But go over the top. Sorry, hands and everything in the way. So I'm just going to bend that up over that component. Timber tip. That one fixed in place, and that can now sort of come over the top of this component like so. And let me get my other pos connected as well. I'm going to have to move this around because it's going to be tight. Coming straight out like so. So when that's all sort of in place like that, that's the way your wires are going to come through. This one's coming up over, so I've got my inputs and my outputs, and that should all sit in the toe then quite nicely. Like I say, I normally leave lots of lead, lots of cable, just so I can play with them. While I'm here as well, I'm going to change out my my wire on the little display, purely because I want some longer wires on there. So as we said last week, again, to take something off, tin your tip, dab your solder, done, and off you come, and you go straight back on with your new wires. There's a fiddly one. There. So my new cables on my little voltmeter as well. What I need to do is mix up some epoxy. My next step is going to be epoxy in the board here, and getting that down here before I put the battery terminals in. There is a very good reason for that, and it is I want to get that set, and I want to run some of these wires under the battery terminals just to neaten everything up. So I want to get this up fixed at a nice angle like that. I've got to check I'm not shorting. I'm going to add a little bit of insulation on the plus and the minus here, purely because I don't want that to short on the tin. So a little bit of insulation before I secure that in place. I'm going to get that in, and then what I'm going to do is I'll fix my battery holders in place next to each other, side by side down there, over those cables, and then we should be pretty good to rock. I'll put back into when all this is fixed, no doubt.
Right, as you have seen in the last video, I've now corrected my mistake, and they're definitely going to the input. So this side's the output, and I've twisted the two wires together, and again I'm just going to tack them onto the board. So negative on one side, and positive on the other. So that pretty much should be the last of the soldering I do today. Now, to start off with, I'm going to be using a fully charged battery, and as you hopefully can see, that's registered at 9.4 volts, and if I had my screwdriver handy I would adjust that for you. So you've got 9.4 volts there, and as you'll see there's a little power LED on this one, so that also could come in handy at some point. Let's see, I'll turn this down. That's actually going down as far as 3.8 volts. And when we go up, we can get, I guess what you class as ridiculously high voltages. Well, they make it all the way to 35. That is about the limit, 34.5, 34.6. After that it starts going crazy. But that, according to the specs, is doing exactly what I expected to do. So hopefully we should have something we can use here. using this, it does mean I'll be able to make a single battery box mod with charging on board, so you can have a sealed unit, which is nice, and it'll also reduce the weight. And it takes all the way back down to, let's start off at 4.2 volts I think. What I'm going to be using is a couple of cartomizer types. That's rather manky and disgusting 1.6 ohm cardo tank, and this Vivinova is currently registering at 3.2, so basically double the resistance. So we'll start off with this one I think. I'll just screw that into place, and of course nothing happens until I press the firing button. And that's firing at 4.2, and the display didn't flicker in the slightest. But I'll just do the testing with this I think at the moment. That's it down onto its limit of 3.8, showing 3.2, which is probably about as low as I'd possibly want to vape anyway, so that's all good. At the other end of the scale is going to be the interesting part. Set that at 6, see what happens then. That's dropped to 4.7 on that, but it's still firing okay. So if I take it up to 7, you're still getting 4.7, right. Mark it right up. 11, which is a ridiculous amount and would pop this coil if it worked. But you get 4.7, so that looks like that's going to be the limit for that size. So 3.2 to 4.7 is reasonable. But I know there are people out there that prefer higher again, so they may be disappointed at that. I'll pop back down to 3.8.
Right, now it may look like we've steamed ahead, but essentially all I've done is glue the components in place. Made sure they fit where I wanted them to fit. I've got the 218/350 battery holders down here, the VV board mounted up at the angle because obviously we trimmed the thing down. I've got my wires in. I've tested for shorts with the continuity tester. Last thing to test is a display, which is actually coming up. So effectively we're now into, if you like, our wiring side of things. The first thing that I've done is actually positioned the battery packs. Now it looks like a bit of a mess in here, I do apologise for that. Pos and a neg and a pos and a neg at either end. This board side, what I'm going to do is put a link between the two, because this is a step down board. Effectively we do need to stack the batteries. I've made a small little link for that, and this is what you got when you have the if you like, the stacked or the the twin 18650 holders. I've just lost my little bit of wire. So all I've done is got a small piece of wire that I've tinned up the ends on, and I've tinned up the ends of these this battery connection here. Just going to tin up my tip, drop my first wire on. You're going to have to excuse me here because I've just got to position this wire around a little bit to get it in place. Then clean my tip, tin my tip, and I'm just using the little fine nose pliers here to ease that in position. Badly, it's because it's moving. You little bugger. Always secure your work. So I've got my link then across that battery pack there. Done. So effectively on my outputs up here I've got a POS and a neg that are going to be effectively powering our board. Now this is why I say I normally leave lots and lots and lots of wires. I know that these two wires that are coming in here are the, if you like, the input from my board. Now these two wires being the input from my board, they need to effectively pick up the power supply. What we normally do in this situation is to take a, excuse me while I bugger about the wires, I would normally put the POS straight on the POS pin, neg, via the switch. So we're going to do just that right now. Now I might have to jiggery pokery that around. I might have to go around the back of the switch. So it's literally we're just working out where our wires are going to go now, and I'm just taking it round, measuring it roughly, cutting that off, trimming back, little twist of the wire. I do apologise if this seems rushed. I want to get this nailed in one go. And I've been working hard today. I've been doing the workshop, and I just angle that wire with the pliers. Using the pliers just to get that wire in place where I want it to go. I'll tin my iron, as I've already tinned up these joints. I've got my POS connection in now, going directly to the battery just round the back of that switch. And this neg wire here, I'm going to go, again I'll follow the route, it's all fingers and thumbs, it's a really tight space to work in. I'm going to go around the back of that as well and pick up one side of the switch with this black wire. Might take it out a bit, it's not going to be as visual, but it'll save me trying to get in tight spaces. So I've just tinned that up, and again I can use my hand for this one. I'm just going to position that up on that switch side, tiny dab together, and I know I've got a connection. So effectively what I'm doing is switching the neg on this board, and I want to take a little link off the one switch to the, obviously the output side. Sorry, input side is being switched, not the output. That would be just damn stupid. I might have to make a longer little lead for that. But just very quickly make up a little link. All I'm doing is getting a little length of wire, trimming it back, tinning it up, burning my fingers. Now I'm just going to position this wire sort of where I think it needs to go. Cleaning my tip on the battery terminal, and then I've got to feed that round onto me onto a switch. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. So effectively that's what I've done. I've just taken my, if you like, my input from a board which is going to my battery terminals, switching it on the neg, pos going out to the directly to the battery pack, and this really should be pinned down. It's such an awkward shape to sort of pin down. I mean, near impossible. What I'm doing is positioning that wire prior to soldering it, which is proving a lot more fun than it should be. There we go. Tinning my tip. Now, that goes to show I didn't tin that end. I didn't tin one end of the bloody wire. There you go. That would help, wouldn't it? You're supposed to tin your wire. And that's now on the switch. So we've sort of got pretty much everything's there, bar now we've got our two wires left going out. And as we've done many times with these, this is the if you like, two of the wires are from the display, and the other two wires are from the output side of the board. So when we're stacking our battery, we can adjust the voltage via this board and chuck them through. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to feed these wires through, get them trimmed off. I mean, we are pretty much there. I want to, actually what I might do is just feed them through roughly. The way I size them up is give it a little bit past where the out is going to go, trim them back, same again, and then it is literally a case of just twisting the positives together and the negs together, and that will go straight on our ATI connection. I'll pop back in two and we'll vape a shoe. And we're back in the room once again. The eagle-eyed among you obviously will have noticed my huge coup cup there, where when we were first wiring up the board I had two posies on one side and two negs on the other. Didn't want to, I shouldn't be doing that, but two posies and two negs either side, and obviously there should be a pos neg input and a pos neg output. Despite them being labelled with a big plus and minus, I went ahead and soldered the wrong wires on. I'm blaming the fumes. The fumes are getting a blame for a lot of things today, including a pink shoe. Let's go into our second little ad break, and we'll pop back very shortly after this.
Liberty Flight sponsors 10-Year Tip with Garry Dibley. Liberty Flight sponsors 10-Year Tip with Garry Dibley.
And there we go, we're back in the room once again. Before we sort of crack on with the final two parts of our modding things this week, just a little run through the schedule. Obviously, the TPD thing starts tomorrow, and I believe the guys are working frantically to air something from around about 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm sure all the details and information will be put up, where to go, what to look for, this and the other. Not sure how long it'll be going on for, but obviously probably until they finish. And then followed on to tomorrow night, the team are doing a team talk, particularly discussing the EU TPD. It's a TPD special, talking about the events of the day. Most definitely worth tuning in if you can, from tomorrow morning, and obviously at 9 o'clock. I'll be trying to catch up during the day. Yeah, we'll see how that one goes. Tuesday, obviously, following on from that, about 9:45, we've got DE Talk. Wednesday, we're back to sort of normal with Dave on VT Talk. On Thursday, the Haze Hour. On Sunday, I'm not sure whether DK is back in town or not, but we know Marco is, and he should be back next week. No doubt, telling us all about his vaping experiences around the world. I don't know if he went around the world. He went somewhere hot. Obviously, let me just do this before my next bit.
Great. All I can see is Sav.
Yeah. I talk a lot, I'm sorry. Hello and welcome to the Haze Hour. I forgot the second half of that sentence. I got everywhere. I forgot I had to continue. Yeah, the Haze Hour sponsored by e-cigs.
Have we still got viewers?
Yeah, we've got 87 currently watching. I've got 88.
Yeah, I've got 88.
Yeah, I do.
Someone's not watching.
She was not watching that.
Yeah, that's right. I was looking at the wrong screen.
So there we go. Obviously, the guys on RY4 Radio, Rob on Tuesdays and Fridays, and our very own Daz on Thursdays. Definitely worth tuning in to. Let's crack on with our next little bit, where Mark is still experimenting with his step up board. Is it going to be worth putting in a mod? We'll see.
So back at 3.8, we need the 1.6 ohm on. See how this reacts. I've chosen the two sizes because A, they were handy, and B, they represent fairly well the two sort of ends of the scale that you'd be looking at. So 3.8 drops to 3.4, and you do it crackling away nicely. And the overload on it has sent that crazy. That is something I'll have to watch out for. In fact, something has gone very wrong somewhere. So that is now registering a 50. And the chip has got very warm, shall we say. And that is not a normal reaction. I can't see anything that could have gone wrong on the boards. That should be free from connection. No, it appears to be a fault with the board. I must have overloaded it. Looking like I won't be able to use this board the way I want it to. Or I've just got a faulty board, one or two. I think there's a problem with the capacitor on that board, but we shall find out. A little bit more testing. And the output appears to be stuck at 60 volts. Ah well, this is one thing you'll live and learn. I'll have to stick to the tried and trusted twin battery boards by the look of it. But if I find out what's wrong with this, I shall update you at some point. Right. I'm back, and as you'll see, I've been doing a bit of testing. I've removed the display from the board. I've added an external potentiometer to test that out, and a couple of things I can tell you. If you're going to be testing one of these boards, which doesn't seem to be much point at the moment, don't use a display like this, because this has, well, according to the specs, this one will only go up to 30 volts, or possibly 17 depending on which set you read. So that was causing a problem, and it possibly caused the board to short out and knack at the board basically. But now I can show you with a reliable meter. It's now completely dead. Or I'm just not getting a connection to the battery on it. Tell you what, check your probes are connected first, shall we? Right, let's check the battery. It's 4.1. And 4.1, and the same. It now makes no difference where I set the potentiometer, the display doesn't even flicker. So I can say without certainty I've killed the board, and if I press the cartomizer it drops to 3.1. It is still firing, but basically it looks like the circuit's going to be a waste, shall we say. But it's not all bad news. I now know that I can't use one of these. I'll stick to the originals. And it shows testing is very important, because if I'd gone ahead and made the mod with this circuit board in, I'd have been very upset when I got to the end and found the whole thing blew up. So, live and learn. Next week I'll come back with a proper mod, I think.
Right, so I'm back in the room, and the only thing I've done is literally secured this ATI connection in. Now, I've used hot glue, not the best in the world. I would choose to use an epoxy resin of some shape or form, be it the plasticine type one or the liquid one. I'm running short. I didn't realise until I made this. Press the button, we got our voltage there. Obviously there's a little switch on the top, ATI connection in the end there. The only thing left to do is to inject a bit of Sol into this mod, and let's do that right now, and let's clag an ATI on. I'm going to put the K-Fun on the top of there. I like my K-Fun. So there we go, our little pink, very pink, it's not fuchsia, a little shoe tin mod. Let's give it a go. The button position is really good there, actually. I think one of my batteries has jumped out. Yes, it did. It's because I should be using the flat tops with these. That's very nice. Yes, interesting, to say the least. But just to show you, you can pretty much find something, play with it, mod it. Just all about planning where your bits go, really. I'd say nice, simple VV shoe. Back to me in the studio. And there we go, we're back in the studio once again. Yeah, the shoe. I have since, if you're interested in having a go with the shoe, I really don't know why you would, but if you did, these are actually in Sainsbury's at the moment in their sort of Christmassy stocking filler things. They're £2 and they come full of chocolates, so bonus. I can't see anybody wanting one, but the wife brought it home, and I had to. I send her shopping for tins. I had to do something with it. That's the reason. We're running out of time rapidly, guys. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow, 8 o'clock roughly in the morning, and then at 9 o'clock for the team talk, covering all of the TPD bits and pieces. With all that said, thanks very much to everybody, to Mark and to the team. I will catch you back here next week, rapidly looking for the titles. It's been emotional once again. See you later.
Liberty Flight sponsors 10-Year Tip with Garry Dibley.